I did.
Hi, Mr. Estrada.
Hi.
This is our interview with a consecrated person.
Okay.
Okay. How did you discern your vocation?
Well, I think before I answer that, I have to kind of explain what my vocation is. Because technically, when you talk about a consecrated person, most often you're referring to a nun or a friar or a monk or a sister. And for me, I'm a lay person, but I'm part of a group called the Providence Associates, which is a group of regular people who could potentially, date, marry, all of that, or even be single, who make a promise to contribute to the mission of the sisters in consecrated life. In this case, the Sisters of Providence. So with that in mind, your first question was how I discerned my vocation. Well, for me, in the vocation as a Providence Associate, I have to admit, it probably started rather early on. I was invited back in 2011 to consider the Associates, and at that time I didn't because I was getting ready to move to Chicago, and there were no Providence Associates out there. I was invited again in 2014, when I came back to work at Providence, and it was honestly an invitation, how did you feel about the vocation of the ministry of the Sisters of Providence? Would you be interested in contributing to it yourself? And I was thinking, well, in what way? I said, well, there's many ways you could do that. So that was really how it started for me.
And what aspects most attracted you
There were a couple, actually. I think the first one was that it was this idea of supporting a mission of a group of religious sisters that I had a personal experience with. I went to Providence High School when the sisters were here. They were a very positive presence in my life, and I saw firsthand the amazing work that they did. And in a way, it was like, this opportunity to give back to a ministry and a vocation that I experienced so much goodness from. So I think in many ways that was kind of the biggest thing.
Can you describe how you prepared for your ministry?
I actually went through a year-long process of preparing by taking classes and things like that. There were a group of us here at Providence who all wanted to become associates, and we had to go through a series of classes. We had like a little textbook thing and everything, where we met every month here on campus with the sisters, and then each of us was assigned a spiritual director to kind of talk to through the process of discernment. Mine happened to be a sister of Providence who graduated from this high school in 1962. And it was interesting because, we both went to Providence High School at very different times. One before Vatican II, or during Vatican II, one well after the changes. But then also we had different experiences in the workplace. For me, I'm a campus minister at a high school. For her, she served in ministry as well, but as a chaplain in a hospital. First in a maternity ward, and then later working across the board. I'm working with people towards the beginning of their life. She was ministering towards the end. So while there are big differences, it was interesting just to be able to have that process of talking through. And that was the biggest part of my discernment process, was that one-on-one of just kind of discussing, well, what does it mean to be a Providence Associate? What does it mean to contribute to a mission that's not my own? It's something greater.
What does celebrating the sacraments, especially the Eucharist, mean to you?
Everyone keeps on asking me that question. So I think with that, I'm just thinking, I feel really bad for Mr. Jimenez. He has to hear the same thing from me, how many times? So
how many times did you get interviewed?
This is the fourth or the fifth?
Oh my
You were
god.
interviewed twice.
I don't know.
He sent out an email.
It's okay, this is the first.
Oh, well, you're the first people to come to me, so that's proof. So, I just assumed they were coming to me, that they already went through Mr. Jimenez. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Jimenez. So, continuing on, the Eucharist. I think as an associate, I'm here in LA. There's a small group of us down here. There's a small group of Sisters of Providence. The rest are all over the world. We don't often get to see everyone together. Even here in LA, there's a group of us here in Burbank, and there's a group on the other end of town all the way in Long Beach or Torrance. We don't even see each other a whole lot. We're kind of over here and then they're over there. But I think this idea of Eucharist, especially the sacrament of the Eucharist, it's a wonderful reminder that we're united in something greater than ourselves. It's the one thing we all hold in common in our weekly life, is the celebration of the Eucharist. And I think even more than that, what is the mission of Providence? Well, to reveal God's love for all. It's not just the mission of the high school or the hospital. They actually stole that from the Sisters of Providence. It's their mission. And it's also the mission of the Providence Associates. And that idea of, what does it mean to reveal God's love? What does that look like? Well, the Eucharist is the perfect model of revealing God's love. It is, when we're trying to say, well, what does it mean to love? Well, look at the Eucharist, this reality of God's loving presence. And it serves as a model for all of us, associates, sisters, lay people, consecrated life, whatever. It's a constant reminder that, to truly follow Christ, to truly follow in a mission of consecrated life, or to contribute to any mission of the church, is to be a model of love, to mirror ourselves after the Eucharist.
What are your duties?
So I have to admit, I luck out a lot because the Sisters of Providence have a lot of duties. For me, it's a lot simpler. So it's kind of like the light version. I'm required to renew my promise. It's not generally called a consecration, it's called a covenantal promise. And I renew that once a year, generally in September. On top of... No. I renew... Actually, in order for me to become an associate, I had to go through an interview process where I was tested verbally. But I'll have to renew that. At least I hope not. I really hope not. But, so there was that. But each year, I renew the promise. And my promise is to contribute to the mission of the Sisters of Providence through my work. Each associate is given an exact assignment. Mine happens to be being a campus minister, which is kind of funny because I already had that job before I became an associate, so it simply became adopted by the associates. So for me, it's to contribute to the mission of the sisters, to keep the heritage and the legacy of the Sisters of Providence alive here at Providence High School. And because of that position in particular, yes, I work as campus minister, but I also work on our mission and ministry board. You don't hear too much of it as students, but it's actually a board of adults on the campus that work particularly with on that higher level with the adults. Or with kind of overarching things. Also sitting on the Catholic Identity Board for the school that meets throughout, kind of making sure that we stay true to that heritage of the sisters. But also meeting with the sisters. We had a group here last week that just showed up. And it was like, okay, well, I'll show them around. There's a connection. I'm an associate. I understand their ministry. So yeah.
What do you appreciate most about being a lay person instead of a lay person?
Well, of course, there's the freedom of being a lay person, but being a lay person as an associate, I think it brings a nice realization of community into my life. Because yes, I'm a lay person. I'm not a consecrated sister of Providence. That's not going to happen, obviously. I'm not a friar. I'm not a priest. I'm not a monk. And in those lifestyles, usually there's a strong sense of community in the convent, in the monastery, in the priory. As associates and lay people, we get a little taste of that. Being able to meet with each other, the other lay associates, every so often. A couple weeks ago, we had just dinner with the sisters. They have their little convent residence right up the road on Buena Vista. Actually, across from the library, you probably pass it all the time. Don't realize that there's a little convent on the top floor of an apartment. Meeting there and discussing what's going on in our ministries. What are we happy about? What do we want to do next month? Side note, it's a barbecue. Having time just to pray together. It's nice to have that taste of that community feel that we wouldn't otherwise see as lay people. So I like that a lot.
That's all our questions. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.